Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about the biggest mistake that new programmers make. So let's get into it. So I had this question posed, like what is the biggest problem, or like what's the biggest mistake that beginners make? And it's a tricky one to just pick one thing, because there's quite a few of different things that if you're starting fresh at something, of course you're going to make mistakes. Everybody does. That's the purpose of life, right? To make enough fuck ups so that you actually learn how to get better at something, and then that thing turns into experience. That's exactly how it is. You fuck up enough, and then your experience teaches the next generation, right? That's why I'm here, right? Because I've made so many fuck ups that it's worth talking about on YouTube. Anywho, the biggest mistake I would say is, and this is I'm sorry for this answer, but it's so easy for me to say this. The biggest mistake that beginners make is that they let their performance anxiety get to them. Yes, that is the biggest mistake. You see, I've seen this quite a few times, and this is true for anybody who isn't like 100% comfortable within their role as a software developer. I mean, it's happened to me, it's happened to my current junior coworkers, it's happened to coworkers they're not junior in their career, they've worked for quite a few years, but they're sort of junior within the company, they don't really know things all that well. And this is like that uncertainty that everybody gets when you work, or when you start anything that is new to you. And for a junior, it's actually very easy to spot this problem, because everything takes a lot longer. And this is my favorite one. This is kind of how it goes. So you give a junior a task. It's actually happening at my job right now. So I give this, we sit down, we're estimating a story, right? There is this very small, well-scoped, well-defined story. The piece of work is fairly easy, and we estimate it, and we say, all right, I'm going to estimate it from my understanding of the code base. And the problem there is, of course, that the estimation is based on me, who already knows quite a lot of things about the system and all of this stuff, right? So I make an estimation. I say this is going to take 1 day tops, because it's a very small story. Now the juniors in the room, or the junior who kind of ends up having to do this, estimates it to be a little bit more. So we give them a little bit, just a smidge more. Like I think it got estimated to 2 days. Said and done, the person in question takes care of it, because we can understand that it takes twice the time for a person who is fairly inexperienced, both career-wise, but also in the system that we are working on, to take a little bit longer. And then they start working, and after a little while, I get some requests for help. I help them out, and I can start to sense, and then they ask for more help and more help and more help. And you can start kind of to get this sensation that this person is, they're struggling with fairly basic concepts. And as time progresses, now it's yesterday it was day 2, you can see that things it's almost like the brain starts to shut down the more stress that they feel. It's getting harder and harder. I mean, the best part is that I've seen this person solve similar issues before, when there's no stress, when there's no need to either impress me or to deliver on the deadline. And you can see the fear and the anxiety that this person gets from trying to impress me and trying to meet the deadline, because the person, and this is the mistake that the junior makes. The mistake that they make is to think that the most important thing here is to meet the deadline on the story. And usually this is true. Absolutely, there is a certain importance to meeting the deadline, and you should meet the deadline. If I were working on it, I would have been expected to meet the deadline, or at the very least be delayed by just a day or two. Now this person is being delayed quite a lot more, but it's understandable that a junior takes longer than a more seasoned, experienced person, right? But the focus when you have a junior within a company is to train them to be as productive as possible, as quickly as possible. But the junior is more interested in trying to impress people, or trying to prove that they belong in that company. And of course that is going to be something that comes into question. I mean, it's easy for me to say that, oh, you shouldn't care about that, but we all know you're going to care about it. Everybody does. Everybody, I mean, I did it, everybody I know did it. in the beginning of things, you feel this sensation that you need to deliver on time and you need to just get that done as quickly as possible. And because you're thinking constantly about just producing quickly enough and being fast, you actually block your own ability to think about the problem. And it becomes more important for you to deliver on time and to, well, delivering on time is important, but it becomes more important for you to just solve the problem, to make the story go away rather than do it well. And then the thing that always happens, and that is that you feel that you're done because you like hacked something together just to meet the deadline, and then you push that to code review, and then it comes back like 100 times is a strong word, but like this person usually gets, on an average story, she has a bounce back of at least 2 times, which is a lot more than one bounce. Is usually is common, even like for more experienced people, that you get some comments back in a code review. But this person usually gets quite a few ones. I think the most bounces that she's gotten was 5, roughly. So 5 times back and forth. And that is just wasted time. That is time that like gets piled on top of the time that it took to actually write the code. And this all comes down to this problem that the person is not taking the time to really understand what it is that they're doing. And the inexperience helps here, of course, that it takes them longer to comprehend the problem, but because of the stress that they feel to perform, it's actually getting a lot worse. So what I want you to take away from this is that by far the biggest mistake that juniors make is that they allow their performance anxiety to get to them. And the problem here is that the only way to make that go away is to be either fairly emotionally stable as an individual, and you can either have that just naturally from experience in life, or you can get it from getting experience within the code base or within your own craft. Because more experienced programmers usually don't get stressed over being delayed a little bit or things of this nature, but that's also because they feel very confident within their own skills. So I can't really give you a good tip for how to solve that, but what I can tell you is that sensation, like that performance anxiety, if you can't keep that in check, it's likely that it's actually going to damage your productivity overall. You're going to focus so much on trying to be as fast as possible that you lose perspective on what's actually important. And what's actually important is that the code works. That something is not on time isn't great, but it's more important that things actually work, and especially that you learn from the experience that you're going through right now. Because the more you understand, the longer you take to actually really comprehend how to improve your own skills, the faster you will be. And before you know it, you won't have this anxiety anymore. So have a great day.